Good afternoon, everybody. This is Eric Holloway with the National Weather Service with Alaska statewide weather. For July 11th, 2020, there are a couple options for you to further refine your search after watching the TV show. A 1-800 number takes you through a menu system on the telephone and it'll help you refine your search. You also have the ability to get on the web and go to weather.gov/Alaska. If you take off Alaska and put in Fairbanks, Anchorage, or Juneau, it again will help you refine your search. Lastly, if you want to contact us, please email us for any questions about the TV program or the weather service in general. Please don't hesitate. For the hazards map, we don't have any hazards going on right now, but be sure to catch any hazards at weather.gov/Alaska. You'll find any advisories, watches, or warnings out for the state of Alaska. I did want to mention, looking at the strikes yesterday, there was about 2,100 strikes yesterday for July 11th through this afternoon. So there was mainly lightning strikes over the western interior and down through the Matsu Valley and into the Kenai Peninsula, also on the southeast interior, Wrangell, St. Elias Mountains, and into the Yukon. Looking at the fire danger, still we're carrying pretty high fire danger in portions of the upper Yukon and into the Yukon Territory. For the satellite data, looking at this rather complex system, we do have a system approaching the North Slope there. There will be a cold front here coming in onshore tomorrow, but right now there's some low clouds and limited visibility across the North Slope there. Also, I did note some rain showers in the central and western Aleutians, light rain showers. Also some development. I did see some lightning strikes associated with those clouds in the southwest, near Bethel and into the lower Yukon. Otherwise, weakening low pressure system near southeast, the Panhandle there, spreading light rain showers in that region. And otherwise, scattered rain showers, afternoon thunderstorms can be expected across the eastern interior and into down through the southwest, along with a thermal trough. For today's weather, there's the thermal low in the southwest with a weakening trough out associated with that system down through the Yukon Territory. Thunderstorms along that system. I did note some moderate rain showers associated with the thunderstorm there. Otherwise, light to moderate rain showers down through the Aleutians and a weakening included front down there in the southeast and other areas of light rain showers as well. Otherwise, low pressure systems around 1,000 millibar across much of Alaska. And again, fog and mixed precipitation coming on shore across the Arctic coast. For tonight's weather, I'm going to be looking at, again, those two low pressure systems south of the Aleutians and into Alaska Peninsula with 1,001 millibar. They're just south of central Aleutians, 1,005 millibars low just south of Alaska Peninsula. Otherwise, a thermal trough and thermal lows across the southern mainland into the eastern interior over and into Yukon Territory. Otherwise, a weak low, 1,016 millibar low near just south of the Panhandle. Scattered rain showers for tonight's weather. And again, mixed precipitation noted across the northwest coast and across the northern part of the Arctic coast. A couple high pressure systems out in the Bering, 1,015 millibars. For Sunday's weather, 1,003 millibars just south of Aleutians, 1,004 millibars just south of Kodiak Island, Alaska Peninsula. Otherwise, thunderstorms will again be developing across portions of the central and eastern Brooks Range. Thermal lows in the interior and down through the southwest with 1,004 millibars there. Light rain showers and light rain showers again into the panhandle. Otherwise, Monday's weather, 1,012 millibars there around a high pressure in the Bering Sea, 1,004 millibar low just south of Aleutians, thermal trough associated with that system, light rain showers, otherwise an occluded front showing up in the northern Gulf, and again light rain associated with that system down through the panhandle, and again thunderstorm activity across much of the interior and southwest again for Monday's weather, and a weakening cold front now stationary across the Arctic coast. Low temperature Sunday morning, we're looking at 30s across the Arctic coast, 45 there in Fort Yukon, Eagle 40, 47 in Northway, 49 in Fairbanks, 50s, upper 40s down through the southwest and into the Yukon Territory. Otherwise, Alaska Peninsula, 40s across that region and down through the Aleutians, St. Paul 45, Kodiak 50, and then 50 in Yakutat, 52 in Haines, and 49 in state capital Juneau, 49 and 50 across portions of the southern panhandle. For high temperatures on Sunday afternoon, looking at 40s there across portions of the North Slope, Reykjavik 36, Point Home 45, 50 in Anaktuvik, 72 in Fort Yukon, Eagle 68, Galena 70, Tanana 68, 16 in Fairbanks as well, and then 70s down through the southwest with Bessel 70, McGrath 70, King Salmon 61, Dillingham 61, 60s and 50s across the Alaska Peninsula and down through the Aleutians with Shimei 47, Kodiak 59, Yakutat 58, 59 in Haines, and 50s, maybe even 61 there in the southern part of the Panhandle. For Monday morning, again 30s across the North Slope and Anaktuvik Pass, 38, 45 in Adigan, and then 54 in Fort Yukon, 47 overnight low there in Eagle, 52 in Fairbanks, 52 in Tanana, 50 in Galena, and then 50 in Bethel, 52 in McGrath, Lime Village 49, 49 in King Salmon, 49 in Dillingham, 50s and upper 40s down through the Alaska Peninsula into the Aleutians, 45 in St. Paul, Kodiak 50, 52 in Cordova, Yakutat 49, 50 in Haines, 49 in state capital Juneau, and 40s, maybe in a 52 there in Ketchikan. And Savunga out there in the northern Bering 38. And finally, high temperatures Monday afternoon, looking at upper 30s for the Arctic coast, 40s up through the northwest part of the state, 70 in Fort Yukon, 68 in Eagle, 65 in Galena, 65 in Tanana, 67 in Galena, 68 in McGrath, Bethel 68 as well, 68 in King Salmon, 67 in Dillingham, 58 in Kodiak, 58 in, 61 in Cold Bay, and then 50s through the Aleutians, and even 49 out there in the western Aleutians, 56 in Yakutat, 59 in Haines, 58 in Juneau, and then 50s and even 61 there in the southern part of the Panhandle, but otherwise pretty benign weather, especially over the mainland with Bering Sea and Arctic coast reporting IFR conditions across much of the coastal areas and even into the Gulf region with IFR and conditions throughout much of the Bering and along the Aleutians. Otherwise, pretty benign weather across much of the mainland with afternoon thunderstorms, some of which can be heavy at times if you get caught in one of those thunderstorms, but otherwise there are a special weather statement out for the Fairbanks office for the Alaska range for, again, heavy thunderstorm or heavy rainfall associated with scattered thunderstorms. This has been Eric Holloway with Alaska Statewide Weather.
And now, aviation weather around Alaska.
Taking a look at the flying weather for Sunday morning. Looks like we'll be having some marine stratus over the next couple of days over the coastal areas and down through much of the Bering Sea into the Gulf and along the Arctic coast there. Otherwise, marginal conditions along the Alaska Range. Tricky conditions, as you'll see in the past maps, but mainly marginal conditions through some of the Alaska Range passes. And then for Sunday afternoon, again, much the same scenario. IFR conditions out along the coastal areas, down through the Bering Sea, Aleutians, and into the Gulf region, North Gulf Coast. Marginal conditions down through the Alaska Range, and marginal conditions showing up there in the southern and central Panhandle. For Monday afternoon, much the same. IFR conditions out in the ocean areas, Bering Sea, Aleutians, into the Gulf, Kodiak Island, and that extends up into the southern and central Alaska Range with marginal conditions out through the Mat-Su Valley and into the Kenai Peninsula, otherwise showing up there in the Brooks Range with IFR conditions there. For Monday afternoon, continued same old story with IFR conditions pushing out along the coastal areas and down through the Bering Sea, Aleutians, and into the Gulf with improving conditions along the North Gulf Coast. And Kenai Peninsula, clearing conditions there across much of south central and into the Alaska Range. And looking at past conditions Sunday, I went for an Anaktuvik pass on VFR conditions, same for Adigan. Lake Clark and Merrill went for IFR conditions there. Rainy IFR conditions, again, it might be a little bit tricky, might be improving to marginal conditions in those pass areas, but please keep an eye out for either marginal or IFR conditions along the Alaska Range. Marginal and windy pass, Isabel Pass marginal, probably improving to VFR conditions during later in the day on Sunday. Mentasta marginal, and then Tanita marginal as well. Portage, mainly IFR conditions there, but over in the western interest, possible marginal conditions as you punch through. And then Chilkoot in white, IFR conditions down in the Panhandle. Sunday morning, freezing levels mainly around between 6,000 and 8,000 feet across the mainland, and then a little bit lower conditions along the north slope there, surface all the way out along the Arctic coast there, but otherwise 12 to 10,000 feet through the Bering and northern Gulf. And icing conditions, looks like we're going to be having above 10,000 feet with isolated moderate conditions scattered across the southern mainland and into the Panhandle, and again across portions of the Brooks Range and North Slope. Jet stream for Sunday, northerly winds across the west coast with 60 knots there. Miles per hour. And then we're going to be around a low pressure system there near Bristol Bay, 50 to 60 miles per hour there. And then 90 miles per hour across the southern Gulf. And then for 9,000 foot winds on Sunday, low pressure there on the Arctic coast there, 25 to 30 miles per hour there. Otherwise weak and variable across much of the mainland down into the Panhandle. You have to go way out into the Gulf to get to 45 miles per hour, otherwise 25 miles per hour there in portions of the western Aleutians. 3,000 foot winds on Sunday, light and variable across the mainland and into the Panhandle. Otherwise, a couple low pressure systems just south of the Aleutians, Alaska Peninsula, with 25 to 30 miles per hour in some of those areas. Turbulence for Sunday, only below 4,000 feet over in the central and western Aleutians. Otherwise, pretty nice flying conditions, turbulence-wise, across much of the state of Alaska. And to reiterate, we're going to be having some marginal to IFR conditions, again, along the coastal areas. Otherwise, pretty nice flying conditions. We'll see some afternoon thunderstorms on Sunday, so be watchful of that. But otherwise, generally marginal to IFR conditions over the portions of the Alaska Range and down into the Panhandle.
Welcome back to another edition of Alaska Weather Facts. I'm meteorologist Dave Snider, and joining me once again is Eric Stevens from GINA, the Geographic Information Network of Alaska, based up at the University of Alaska Fairbanks. Eric, welcome back to the program.
Hey, I'm glad to be here.
And once again, you brought some wonderful satellite pictures to show us and do a little show and tell about. It's just amazing. I can get lost in satellite pictures all day. What did you bring today?
Right. Well, weather satellites, what are they good for? Yeah. Of course, there's the pretty pictures that they bring us. You know, we've got a picture here from April of 2012. Okay. The Sumi NPP satellite, it's what they call a polar orbiter, which means it covers Alaska because we're near the pole. Beautiful image. You can see a storm off of southeast Alaska, the sea ice along the Bering Sea up into the Arctic. A really nice picture, and this is important because it allows a forecaster to see where the storms are, where the ice is, where the clear areas are. You need to know where the weather is now if you're going to forecast it into the future. Exactly. So satellites give us these good pictures. This is called surveillance of the weather. And you know, that same satellite also has another picture from a little more recently, August of 2014, Tropical Storm Iselle bearing down on the Hawaiian Islands. Okay. Hawaii doesn't get hit by a whole lot of tropical storms or hurricanes. Sometimes it does. And here's a picture from the same satellite, the Sumi NPP Polar Orbiter. It shows Tropical Storm Iselle approaching the Hawaiian Islands from the southeast. You can see the storm swirling away there, and then there's the Hawaiian Islands. This is a tropical storm, not quite as strong as a hurricane because we don't see the eye wall in there. This is still a serious weather system. And all of this information comes just from that satellite picture. It's so much information, and it's wonderful to look at. You see the beauty and the awe of nature right there depicted in that weather satellite. We call it a polar orbiter because the satellite flies high over the globe. Maybe we could look here at we happen to bring the planet Earth with us. This is our satellite. A polar orbit flies really close to the Earth, maybe 800 kilometers over the Earth, and goes up over the pole and then back down, and then the Earth spins under the satellite as it goes by. That's in contrast to the geostationary birds, which are much further out. And they don't view Alaska quite as well. So we love those polar orbiter satellites here in Alaska.
So when we're a lot closer, we get much better details and imagery and an idea of a better maybe position of what's going on when it's passing right over Alaska or right over Hawaii.
Yes, exactly right. The polar orbiter gives such a good view of places like Alaska. And because it's close to the planet, there's another aspect of satellites in the polar orbit that is helpful for weather forecasting. It's an aspect that's maybe not as immediately obvious as the pretty pictures that we see. And that is the capacity for the satellite to produce what's called a sounding. That is finding the vertical profile of temperature and moisture in the atmosphere. We've all heard of weather balloons. Weather balloons are launched here in Alaska twice a day at a number of airports, everywhere from Barrow to St. Paul Island to Kodiak, Anchorage and Fairbanks, Yakutat, a number of places. Launch these balloons, and we've got a picture of a balloon being launched at an airport, and the balloon goes up. It's pulling a little package, an instrument package with it that reports temperature, pressure, humidity data back, and we use that information to help feed what are called numerical weather prediction models.
The models.
The models, right. It's a mouthful, so we just call it the models. And these computer simulations, these models, are computer programs that simulate the motion of the atmosphere. Well, how does a model know what the future will be like? You have to tell the model what things are like now. And you give it all kinds of information, including information from these satellite sounders. Very important. Just how important are they? We have a recent, comparatively recent study that really brings home, and this is Superstorm Sandy. We have a track image here of the track of Hurricane Sandy. It was down in the Caribbean around Cuba, and then it moved north over the ocean, offshore of the eastern seaboard, and then at the last minute, Sandy made what's called the left hook. It turned hard to the left and slammed into New Jersey. It was a major problem for the mid-Atlantic states, a calamity. It fused with another weather system and became known, this is not an official title, but Superstorm Sandy. It was quite the weather event. Well, the modelers, after the event, there's a group of modelers in Europe. They have a very good model, a frustratingly good model if you're the Americans trying to pursue their excellence. They reran their model afterwards in what's called a data denial study, where they kept everything the same. So this is 6 months after Sandy, but they went back, they reran the same model, they fed the model the same initial conditions, that is telling the model, okay, here's where we think Sandy is, down near Cuba in the Caribbean. Everything was the same as it was in the real forecast, except they didn't let the model know.
No satellite data.
No satellite data.
Okay.
So we're going to put that over here, no satellite data for you. The resulting forecast 5 days out, back when the real Sandy was happening and the model had the satellite data, the forecast was pretty good. We've got a graphic here on the left side. We show the forecast of where Sandy would be, and that's the red bullseye on the left. It's just south of where it actually wound up hitting. Not a bad forecast from this computer simulation, 120 hours out. On the right, you see the same model, but it didn't have the satellite data to help it understand things. And the storm is way offshore. It misses. The forecast is more accurate when the model has the satellite data. So that's the idea today we want to convey, is weather satellites. They're important because they show us the pictures of where storms are. We see good examples of this. Yeah, the surveillance right now, it's great to look at those pictures. And in addition, behind the scenes, maybe not immediately obvious, but the models have to have that satellite data for them to be good forecasts. And then a meteorologist uses that information to help everyone with the forecast of where the storms will be in the future.
That is fascinating information that we can look at, see where things have been, because you can't know where you're going if you don't know where you've been. That's that old adage there. But seeing that satellites are actually helping us move forward in the weather information system is pretty amazing stuff.
You bet.
And if you want to check out Eric's satellite images that he's been talking about, whether that's something from today or last week or even much further back in Alaska history, you can easily do that yourself. Go to www.gina.alaska.edu and you can find those images there. Eric, thanks so much for joining us once again. And again, we will join you hopefully again soon for another edition of Alaska Weather Facts, where you'll tell us more really cool information about the satellites over our heads in Alaska. Thanks for joining us tonight, and we'll see you next time.
And now, marine weather around Alaska.
Taking a look at the sea ice analysis for today, you can see that lower concentrations of ice up through the Chukchi Sea and even over less than 80% concentration over in the Beaufort Sea. Otherwise, wide open conditions down through the Bering Strait and into the Bering Sea. For southeast marine forecast, inside waters, winds generally from the south or southeast 10 to 20, seas as high as 4 feet there in the Lynn Canal. Outside waters, winds generally from the south at 10, seas as high as 5 feet. For Monday's forecast, southeast, inside waters, winds from the south 10 to 15. Outside waters, winds generally from the east 20 to 25, seas as high as 9 feet in the northern Gulf. For south central Sunday's forecast, Prince William Sound, winds generally from the southeast of 15. Gulf region anywhere from east or southwest 10 to 20, seas as high as 5 feet just south of Seward. And then through the Cook Inlet, winds generally from the southwest of 15, seas as high as 4 feet. Kamishak Bay area, winds generally from the southeast at 20, seas as high as 5 feet. For Monday's forecast, south central Prince William Sound, winds generally from the northeast at 10. Gulf region, winds generally from the east or northeast at 25, seas as high as 8 feet. Cook Inlet, winds generally from the northeast at 10, seas as high as 2 feet. Sunday's marine forecast for Alaska Peninsula, Kodiak Island. Around Kodiak Island, winds generally variable, 15, seas as high as 6 feet just south of Kodiak Island. Otherwise, Pacific side of the peninsula, winds generally from the east at 10, seas as high as 7 feet. North side of the peninsula, winds generally from the west at 10, seas as high as 1 foot. For Monday's forecast, around Kodiak Island, winds generally from the northeast at 15 to 20, seas as high as 7 feet. East of Kodiak Island, south side of the peninsula, winds generally from the east at 20, seas as high as 6 feet. North side of the peninsula, winds generally from the east at 10 to 15, seas as high as 2 feet. Loosened chain Sunday forecast, winds generally from the northeast at 15 or 10 to 25, seas as high as 8 feet around Kiska. Otherwise, for Monday's forecast, loosened chain winds continue from the northeast at 15, seas as high as 6 feet on the south side of the eastern Aleutians. For West Coast, looking at winds generally from the north, 15 to 20, 10 winds from the south there near Pribilos at 10 knots, seas as high as 4 feet. And for Monday's marine forecast, winds generally from the west or southwest, 10 to 15, and Norton Sound winds generally from the north at 10, seas as high as 2 feet. And for the Arctic coast, winds up there just off the Arctic coast, winds generally from the north or northwest 5 to 10. Down through the Chukchi, winds generally from the north 15, seas as high as 4 feet. Down through the Bering Strait, winds generally from the north at 20, seas as high as 5 feet. And for Monday's Arctic coast forecast, winds generally from the east or northeast 5 to 10. Chukchi Sea, winds generally from the north at 5 to 15. And that continues down through the Bering Strait, 10 to 15, seas as high as 3 feet. And for tonight's weather, we're going to have a couple low pressure systems south of Aleutians and south of the Alaska Peninsula. 1,001 or 1,005 millibars, pick your poison. And out there in the Bering high pressure ridge, 1,016 millibars, otherwise weak thermal low in the southwest, extending over in the Yukon Territory with thermal lows and a trough associated with that system. And we do have some fog and mixed precipitation out ahead of a cold front approaching the Arctic coast there. Otherwise, scattered rain showers down through the southern mainland into the southeast. And for Sunday's forecast, there's the front that shows up along the Arctic coast with fog and mixed precipitation, mainly snow showers and thermal lows down through much of the interior. Afternoon thunderstorms, 1,004 millibars around those thermal lows. Mixed precipitation again across the Arctic coast, scattered rain showers across the southern mainland and into the Panhandle.
These forecasts are for planning purposes only. Call 1-800-WX-BRIEF for a formal pre-flight briefing. Always file a flight plan before you go flying. The U.S. Coast Guard Auxiliary urges you to leave a float plan with a friend or the harbor master before you go boating.